Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team at Click Software, which was sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, one of the first generative AI companies pre-transformer models. We believe at GST that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities are not. And with that, I welcome you to Simplenight Presents. And I have an incredible guest, not only an incredible technologist and entrepreneur, but a great friend of mine, Sanjay Bhatia. He's an investor and inventor and a pioneer in analytics and data science. After working at places like Radiant Systems and Microsoft as a teenager and a short stint at Trilogy, he founded Zenda, the market leader in embedded business intelligence, now used by over 3 million people from his dorm room during his MBA. After growing Zenda to a multi-million-dollar run rate, and Sanjay raised a Series A and formed a board and management team. He then started investing and advising in data-driven companies which generate or have generated millions of dollars in revenue. And besides that, he loves yoga. So with that, I'd like to bring Sanjay on board. Hey, Sanjay, how you doing today?
Hey there, happy Friday. How you doing today?
Good to see you. I see you're, is that a fake background or is that a real background?
It's a place I do spend time and work out of. I'm not there at this moment, but I like to
I
think.
see. So it's your place, but you're not there right
Yes, my
now.
place. I'm just at the other one right now.
Oh, okay, great. Well, it's good to see you today. So, Sanjay, tell us a little bit about Runday and what Runday's doing, the company that you're
Trend is
involved
really uniting human and AI agents. We see a world where companies need to grow and there's not enough staff to really fill entry level positions. The AIs are really, you could think of them as not superhuman necessarily, but as, what if you had an intern that never slept and never quit? What would you have them do? So we've been training our AI models to do all of those things. So we've really lately embraced the idea of hyper personalization. And so we've gotten a lot of success for customers in messaging to their buyers over social media, over email campaigns, over things like that, to really bring them in a way that has never been possible before. With that, before the advent of these advanced reasoning models that are, so if you look in the news today, you see all this stuff about R1. We lost nearly $1 trillion in market cap from this R1 release from DeepSeek. And so what that is, it's a reasoning model. The shock was that China was able to do it. But we've been using reasoning models for, half a year now. And it's really transformational, I'd say, in a greater way than even ChatGPT was.
So tell me a little bit about it. This is a good segue into, what is, briefly explain what AI is and how it's really transforming industries.
So AI is really the creation of artificial neural networks that can do things that, I mean, if you think of it like an animal brain, right? So dogs can tell the difference between dogs and cats, cars and houses. So a neural network is essentially, a replication of a biological neural network in order to do certain tasks. So the first neural networks could, it wasn't even that long ago, but they were starting to effectively and accurately recognize things like numbers and handwriting. And that evolved into, visual analysis. Okay, is this a car? Is this a dog? Is this a house? And then, as we grew into, different things like LSTMs, which could predict, sequences, stock market analysis. But the big challenge we had was that the training time was, very long. They were sequentially trained. So if you were going to train a large language model, it would have taken, multiple centuries. So the great transformation was this transformer architecture. It was a paper by Google originally that was called Attention is All You Need. And they figured out a way to use matrices to do parallel training. So now you could if you had enough compute power. Now we're talking about spending, $500 billion on, the Stargate project to create compute in the US and manufacture it here. But if you had enough compute, you could then squeeze that multiple centuries of training time down to something more reasonable, like a few months. And that really created what ended up being ChatGPT and the generative AI revolution that we're in today, which is quickly transitioning into the reasoning and the agentic which would be like an age of humanity. So you think of the agricultural age, the information. We were in the information age. We're now in what people call the experiential age. Most purchases in the economy are actually experiences. It's There may be a product associated, like you might actually buy a computer, you might buy a hotel room, flight, but most of what the premium you're paying, the profit is not coming from the product, but the experience that that product delivers. So we're at the end of that age and now entering the agentic age, where we see that there'll be more agents in the workforce globally than there are people, like in the next several years.
So let's look at it. Let's look at, you said you just were going to get a ticket and make your reservations to go to Thailand. So, if we look at it, how can AI tailor travel itineraries, flight and hotel recommendations to be able to make that experience better?
Yeah, I was on last night with a major airline. My parents are going to a wedding in India, and so I was trying to get a flight from Fort Lauderdale to through Atlanta, where most of the connectors are, to India, stay for a few days, fly to Thailand, and then fly back. And most of these sites now have a multi-city options. However, there's a lot of complexity around the regulations, around visas, around availability, and even in 2025, the one of the biggest airlines in the world, their system is incapable of giving any kind of valuable response. So I put my journey in, and it just said, "Hey, we're sorry, we're unable to do this." It wasn't even There was no why, there was no explanation, and so I had to go into Perplexity to sort of like say, "Hey,
Wait a minute,
I'm
you had to
trying to
go
do
to
this."
Complexity while you were in that major airline site to figure out why it wasn't working properly.
Yeah, so I basically explained the situation to Perplexity, and then Perplexity is like, "Well, the way the instant visas work in India for U.S. passport holders is that it has to be a round trip ticket. So I could go to India and back, I can go to Thailand and back. I can't go through India to Thailand with the instant visa. I have to get, I don't know what it is exactly, but I have to get some kind of special permission ahead of time in order to make that trip. But instead of Delta suggesting that might be why, it just said, "Oh, sorry, we can't help you." And it's just I was a little astonished, honestly, that in 2025, the one of the largest airlines in the world, had such a primitive reservation system,
That's
and
amazing. So you didn't know why, you just couldn't figure it out, and Perplexity had to tell you. So, um, so the evolution of this, if you look at that, so that's just with flights. Well, imagine with the hotels, imagine with shows and music and movies, have it enriching that experience once you would land in Thailand, so that you would have a better experience. So how do you think? What do you think the future of hyper personalized experience is going to be like? From you go to Thailand and we don't speak Thai, but imagine having the capability to have those real translation tools.
oh yeah, a lot of the augmented reality systems now, you can look around, you can look at a sign, and it'll visually auto translate it, so it's like you're in this other world where the signs are in English. And then there are kind of mobile headsets that even have local AIs now, where so you're not even using the cloud, where they're able to do live translation. There was a funny meme. It was this guy who has a Russian wife, and he does a bunch of memes and how that's funny. And he started one of the episodes was he started like when she's talking to her family back in Russia, the way it auto translates kind of made it sound like some nefarious stuff was going on. It was just a funny translation. So yeah, these things exist now. We haven't implemented them at scale. And I think beyond, if you go beyond like just flights, well, why are you flying? You're flying because you're staying somewhere, and you're need transportation, like vehicular transportation there. So it's bizarre in 2025 that these things really aren't. I mean, there's some weird discount policies, and you can save some money sometimes, but there's not really a solution that I have seen where you can say, "Look, I want to. My parents are going to this wedding on these dates. I need to get to India and Thailand and back. And by the way, I have a dog. I need to somehow find a way to get that, get to somebody that can, here's some options, people that I can maybe get the dog over to, and just to handle every part of that problem." And so I think this starts to get into superhuman intelligence, or artificial super intelligence, where most people in the world can't solve that problem. I mean, quickly anyway. And so I certainly can't solve it quickly. I mean, I'll solve it, but it's gonna take a lot more mental frustration
Yeah, and cycles.
and ingenuity than I would like, right? But like,
Mhm.
think about something that could solve that problem quickly, and you say, oh yeah, just go drop the dog, just take an extended layover in Atlanta and then drop off the dog to somebody there, and then go back through security, take this flight, and I've filed the paperwork for you to get the special visa. I mean, that's a type of thing that starts to be possible. And that goes beyond even what, I mean, a travel agent wouldn't do that for you today, right? So imagine you're a travel agency and you adopt these capabilities. I mean, the clientele you could get is just at another level, and you have no competition, so you can charge a much higher premium
I mean, the thing
for
is, they
your.
wouldn't even know. They wouldn't know how to get around the problem, right? To be able to solve it. So
Yeah.
you could be booking it. So that goes to the next thing. So these chatbots and virtual assistants. So imagine the customer queries, just like you said about going to Thailand, reservations and upselling. How would that work, right? How would those chatbots be able to help us with those reservations and the upselling, and
So one,
help us?
it's not gonna be a chatbot. So like the GPT engines, based on transformer models, they're designed for immediate response. So they're like an autocomplete that just starts typing like words right away. And there's an experiential, advantage to that for chat. But really, imagine you had an assistant, right? And you asked her, hey, I need to get to 3 different countries. I need to get my dog somewhere. They're not going to respond right away, right? They're going to go and think about it first. So these new models are called thinking models or reasoning models. So they're not going to be chatbots. They're going to be more like something where you upload documents, you like describe your problem. It'll be a little more detailed of a UX, and then they'll sort of like do their work, confirm everything, have a chain of thought, get back to you just for confirmation. Hey, here's 3 ideas. Here's the prices. Which one do you want? And then you just make that choice. But it's not going to be a chatbot that gets you those options right away. It's going to have to do API calls. It's going to have to do chain of thought. I mean, whether it may not be hours, but it might take minutes, just like a really good person would.
So the evolution of this, if we start to look at it, right? These you talked about, immersive technologies, AR, VR, mixed reality. So can imagine you go down through one of these tours, and before you even get there, you have a pre-visit tour where you're using the VR to be able to allow you to be able to explore the destination even before you get there. So I know in Thailand, for instance, there's a huge, huge mall. It's one of the most amazing malls I've ever seen. And before I went over there, I had no clue what it looked like, and it took me, I don't know, the 7 or 8 floors of this thing. But imagine that. How would those virtual reality experiences? How would they really add to the experience before you even get there, Sanjay? What would
Well, what
happen?
we have today that's scaled a little bit is really kind of they're really kind of like headsets, but with glasses and cameras on them. So there's no screen yet. So Meta has their Ray Bans. There's a few other things like that. So they can see what you see, and they're now connected to AI. So you can say, "Hey, I'm looking at some food. Are any of these things gluten free?" And it's actually smart enough to like know what it is, and know, kind of like think through ingredients and say,
Oh,
"Okay, well,
it can look at the food and see if it's gluten free.
yeah, you can see what you see." So there's a camera on the glasses, and the camera sees what you see.
And
You
can
can
it
take
tell you how many calories it is, Sanjay?
Yeah,
So you go over there.
and yeah, you can look at something. It's like, hey, how many calories is this croissant? It's like, okay, that's too many. Like maybe I'll have this
And
sashimi
take a
instead.
walk. Take a walk. It's
Yeah,
probably
so that's there today. So basic translation of signs. You could look at a sign saying, hey, translate this. What's this sign say? And so that you can buy Ray-Ban glasses, and it's connected to Llama, and you can play with that technology today for a relatively low cost. What's coming next is the idea of like very limited screens or integration with your watch or so it's the same experience, but then like, if it needs to show you something on a screen, it can send it to your Apple Watch, or it can send it to, your phone. But still, you're still bringing your more traditional device into play. And then what it eventually evolves to is full augmented reality, where it can literally change what you see. So you're looking around, you have an Apple Vision Pro or a Meta Quest, things like that. Um, these are pass-through devices. They're working on technology where the screen is actually translucent. Those are not quite.
Have you tried these, Sanjay? Have you tried the
Yeah,
Meta and the
yeah. The
how
Meta Quest.
experiences like?
Different experiences. I think a lot of it's just comfort. So the Meta Quest has some really great experiences. You can. I also do drone flying. So my favorite AR experience is it's not AR, but the favorite type of experience like that is actually just flying around my own city. Where there's a live connection to your drone and your VR headset. So like it can fly around my apartment. I can, inside, like there's this, DJI has a new one called a Neo, which is like super tiny. And so you can literally fly through your closet and like
What's it called? The Neo?
DJI Neo. It's only $200
And how
for the
far does that
drone. It doesn't go very far. But it's so tiny, it can go through your house. So it can
Can
like,
it go outside too? Can you how does it fly outside or not?
it does fly outside. It doesn't have the best wind resistance. And so it's not ideal for outdoors, but it can manage.
Hmm.
But indoors is great because you're using this joystick. You have a headset
Sounds like
on.
you're gonna be getting a new toy.
I've been getting a few of those. No, I just got a DJI Flip. I just tried that last night. That doesn't have the FPV support yet. But like yeah, so my main use of these technologies today are probably through the drone experiences. And then the Meta Quest has like really good I free dive, so sometimes I want to like look at sites where I might free dive, and so I'm there looking at the coral reef, and it's 360. You can look up, you can look down, you can be in that environment in
Before you're there.
3D before you're there. Yeah, so you can like, okay, are there reefs in Thailand that I want to dive at? Let me look at this one. Oh, there's a ship in this one. This is a great shipwreck. This one's kind of boring. You can experience these things. So that's kind of the VR side of it, and that's there today. And then the AR is evolving. If you look at the Apple the first M1, which was the mini, people are like, this is not a good product. Like what is this thing? But it was a dev kit. So I think
Hmm.
you got to think of the Vision Pro, the first one, as a dev kit. It's really for developers to build apps with. It's not really
Hmm.
for the consumer. It doesn't make sense for the consumer yet. The challenge I had with the Vision Pro is more. I actually thought about using it as my machine on a trip to California, but my issue was just the way it sat on my face because the Meta Quest, you have options with the battery in the back, and the
Hmm.
DJI, the goggles 3, they have like a battery in the back and the headset in the front, so it's balanced. So you feel like more of the weight in the middle of your head. The Vision Pro, for whatever reason, they put all the weight in the front.
Well, that
And so
must does it push down on your nose?
yeah, so just I felt sinus pressure on
Hmm.
my nose, and so while I like the product a lot, without that counterbalance, I didn't buy it. I didn't feel I could wear that for 5 hours, and that was my goal for having it on a plane instead of a laptop. And so but these things are evolving. So I would think of that as more of it's really a dev kit for them to build the first applications, and then we'll probably see some people call it the Vision Air, which is a more lightweight version that's not, that doesn't have the screen in front. Or they did the funny thing where like it actually has a camera looking at your eyes, and the people around you can see your eyes. And
They
so,
can see your eyes.
yeah, it's your actual eyes.
Uh-huh.
And so
Well,
like
that must be kind of creepy looking though, right?
it's well, the idea is to make it not creepy, so that if you're talking to somebody, like they still see your eyes and you're making eye contact. Um, so that's the idea. I don't know if that concept will stick or not, but it was definitely kind of out of the box thinking. And then so the Vision Air, it won't have that screen, the external screen, but it'll probably be a lower cost model that you'll see more mass adoption with. So I can't really predict which forms of AI and AR. I mean, my last company, FitMatch, we were using augmented reality for sizing. So we had a technology where we use lidar, and we would use AR to sort of like guide the store employee to go around the consumer and create a torso avatar that was a digital twin that we could use for near perfect sizing. And so I think you're going to see like specific applications like that. You go to a store and they size you. Maybe like the mechanic is scanning your car engine, and it's able to notice some things. It's probably like a lot of like industrial use because these headsets are expensive, right? So probably you're going to see, and Microsoft's been working with their version with it more on the enterprise. So you'll probably see more enterprise use cases, training, the consumer side. I mean, the FPV world exploding. The Meta Quest is selling pretty aggressively. So, but we're still in kind of build mode where people are figuring out like what is the technology. There's ideas that Nintendo may pursue some kind of like very limited augmented reality through more cardboard layers. You kind of strap a switch to your face, kind of
Mhm.
thing. So we'll see. I think we'll see all these gimmicks for a couple years, and we'll see enterprise adoption where there's a real big ROI, especially with like the NVIDIA's Omniverse technology. So imagine being in the Omniverse, but you're instead of in front of a laptop screen, you're actually in there, and so that's all happening. And people are doing a lot of experiments and testing, and semi accidentally figuring out, just like we did with generative AI, kind of semi accidentally figuring out like what's going to work and scale.
It's interesting. So you take, we're talking about your trip, but the other thing is, they never talk about how eco-friendly the destinations are and how to be able to preserve energy, right? You just book a ticket. It doesn't. It only tells you what your layover is and how long the trip is. It doesn't tell you how energy efficient the trip is.
Well, Google
Um,
Flights actually started to do that. So if you go to Google Flights,
oh, that's interesting.
they
Yeah, I haven't.
actually will tell you that certain flights are like above average, like 7% above average or 20% below average in carbon emissions based on what plane it is, where they get their fuel, whatever, different factors like that. So Google actually has implemented that.
So you look at the future. So, one of the things we talk about hyper personalized vacations, being able to predict how advanced AI could really offer real time itinerary changes based on your mood or the weather, and instantly
Weather,
make those
yeah.
changes, right. So you get over to Thailand and the weather is really beautiful and you decide you want to go surfing, right? And it checks it. But how close are we to these things, Sanjay? What do you think to really coming out? Is it 5 years, 10 years, or is it now?
We will probably see, I mean, there's different predictions. People are saying between 3 and 7 years before there's more AI agents than human workers. And that's a shocking statistic, to enter this new age of human evolution in that short of a period of time. But I mean, the economics are there. And so once you sort of like, and I'm a believer that really when you adopt AI technologies, you grow businesses and you create jobs. So there's a lot of narrative around, cutting costs and like not having to hire humans. And I think it's kind of ridiculous because like it's not AI versus humans, AI versus humans that use AI. It's not like when the iPhone came out, it was like people lost jobs because not everyone got an iPhone. Everyone just got an iPhone, right? So everyone's just going to get chatbots. Everyone's going to get these tools. So and also people don't realize we're in a population collapse. Most advanced countries have negative population growth now. So there's an aging population. You see more and more kind of older workers. There's not really entry level talent available to do internships. It just kind of doesn't exist anymore. You can't build a call center anymore. So it's not so much that people ruthless capitalists are just trying to like cut costs at all, plus the rewards for growth. Like if you look at an options for an executive, I can grow my business or I can become more profitable. There's way more reward in terms of stock prices, valuations, incentives to grow a company than it is to save money. And you see even today a lot of the biggest companies, they're not profitable because it doesn't it makes sense to sort of just manage your burn but not necessarily get super profitable. And so there's a lot of dynamics there. But my theory or my thesis is really that if we can, like at Runday, if we can help businesses find more customers, there's zero chance they're letting people go and replacing people with AI. What's going to happen is they're going to need more salespeople. They need more customer success people. They're going to need more developers because now they need more features for bigger customers, right? So we got to get into this mindset of uniting human and AI agents to grow businesses. And it's not, this whole like job destruction myth. I think maybe we have a recession and there's a little bit of that because of the recession, but generally, like the businesses that are going to grow and thrive are going to hire a lot of people,
So
as
there's no,
has always been
so
done.
the fear that people are talking about. You're saying there's going to be a hybrid model, and I agree with you there. But here's another part of it. We were now getting to the next level of this whole thing with these concierge services and entertainment. When is a point, AI generated music and films that are hyper personalized for you. So you want to see the new Superman movie, and all of a sudden it starts creating it just the kind of ending that you want to see. How far are we away
Yeah,
from those kind of things?
no, it's already happening pretty aggressively in the translation space. So like when they when to translate a movie with full blown lip syncing into different languages, that's happening today. There's a lot of that. Also, song translation. I mean, some of the like the Indian songs and some of the Latin songs that are like I know the English version, and you hear the translated version, and like not only is it like rhythmically aligned with the music, but like there's sort of a level of semantics where like they've kind of made it mean the same thing, right?
Hmm.
Like it's like a lot of these like much higher quality translations and songs are happening. There's a show Acapulco where they translate in a lot of American songs into Spanish, and it's like the quality of that translation is not something we had a few years ago, and not that it's possible because of AI. So we're seeing in those specific ways like the musical bits in Acapulco, and then you're gonna see thematic things where like okay, I mean directors always have like different endings and then they test them. So they have small audiences, they test different endings and they choose the one that performs best. Well, what if there's not one right answer? What if certain people, say older people like a certain ending because it references things that they grew up with, and younger people like a different ending because so say you have a movie where like has Facebook as the social media, and another one where it's Tinder, Snapchat or something. And then
Hmm.
so you could make these subtle alterations to generationally target and or target for gender or age or different cultures, things like that. And so we're starting to see that already. And it's a question of like where's the diminishing returns. Definitely, if you can get a movie into a major language, there's massive returns there. So maybe we're going to focus the energy on where they're going to get the ROI.
So
It's all possible.
we're coming to the top of the show, Sanjay. What are your closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
So you can get a hold of me at Sanjay, Sanjay, at runday.ai. And I think we really got to think about this age of advanced reasoning and agentic AIs, and not be afraid of job loss, but see new possibilities of things that were never before conceivable at incredibly low costs. And these reasoning models are pretty legitimate. Not everything in AI is, but the idea that you can do this advanced reasoning, take your time, think about it, and solve problems when no one's around to do it, that transforms the economy and human evolution.
Well, Sanjay, and how do people get a hold of you?
Sanjay at runday.ai.
There you go, Sanjay at runday.ai. Well, I want to thank everybody for joining one more time. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And we'll be back to you again next week with another exciting edition. Thanks, Sanjay, and take care, everybody. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend.